Hello everyone, this is Swiss Army Tenor on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing some brief deck reviews today. I've been inspired by a gentleman on YouTube named Alicent and the reviews that he has done, and he's kind of brought me back into an interest in cards and collecting and things like that, so I want to kind of do this in honor of him. This will probably be the only deck that I will be opening on the review, but once again, in honor of Alicent and how he does it. Alicent, this is my tribute to you. If I can get it. There we go. So let's go ahead and try this. I will probably, if I do review a deck again on YouTube, I will probably, and open it, I will probably use one of my Swiss Army knives. I'm a Swiss Army knife collector. And this one is a nice custom-made one that I purchased a couple of years ago. It's very beautiful. And so, Alicent, the switchblade is yours. If I do it again, I will stick to a Swiss Army knife. But these are the Massa playing cards. They have a linen finish, a very classy, elegant design on the box. Well, since I've got this out, I'll go ahead and use this to open it, but just bear with me here for a moment. These cards are quite nice. They have a very sturdy, stout feel to them. It's not a particularly thick deck. The backs, again, as you can see, are very plain but elegant. You get Joker and, let's see, 2 Jokers and kind of an advertising card. They're very nice cards. I was surprised when I first saw them because I expected something more along the lines of a plastic deck, such as a Fournier, which is not able to faro shuffle very well. But these farrowed fairly well right out of the box. It took a little while, but as you can see, that's not a... it takes a little while to get them to faro. This is a fresh deck. It took the other number of tries. Another deck that I opened about 5 or 6 tries before I could get it to faro quite like I wanted it to. It does take a little bit of working in. They fan fairly nicely. Not quite as smoothly as, say, a bicycle deck, but again, I think after working them in, they do spread very well. Again, I'm not sure how well you can get that on the camera. Let me go back a little farther. So they do well. Another thing for magicians, the double lifts that you can do are good. They do not, the cards do not slide apart easily. So that's, I opened another deck today that was a variation on a bicycle deck, and when you do a double lift, the cards slide apart very easily. These are cut well, very nice, very enjoyable deck of cards. You might want to stay tuned, as I'm going to be discussing a very interesting aspect of some of the Shadow Masters. The differences between the cards made in Erlanger, Kentucky, and the Shadow Masters that were made in Cincinnati, Ohio. The next decks I'd like to talk about are the bicycle Cupid backs. I believe they're, yes, Cupid backs. The main reason I wanted to discuss these is because of the very, very elegant design on the back. Let's see if we can get a good view of that. The gold against the red and the black is very, very nice. Very nice indeed. Let me hold up the back of the deck to you so you can see. It just looks stunning, I think. Particularly the blue and the gold. The red is very nice as well. I'll give you a look at those. Again, just very, very beautiful. These cards fan and faro exquisitely. They're whoops! Like, I think these are the cards that I did a double lift and they slipped apart. these cards are very slick, and so once they're broken in, there won't be any problem with double lifts, but at first you do have to watch yourself. They spread beautifully. One of the nice things that I liked about this deck, and I just, when I ferreted, I messed it up just a little bit. You get a double backer, beautiful, two jokers, one in gold and one in red or blue. It's the red one. Let me see if, here's the gold one. Again, just very, very, very nice. You also get a blank face deck card, which is very nice. So again, these Cupid back decks are absolutely beautiful. The backs, for my money, are the best backs that I've ever seen on a deck of cards, and I've seen quite a lot of decks. The next deck I'd like to discuss is a very interesting deck. It's called the Archduke Premium Poker Playing Cards, Eagleback version. These cards were made apparently in India, and as a matter of fact, this is produced by Archduke Cards in Mumbai, formerly known as Bombay, India. These are pretty interesting. I got them on eBay, and sometimes I can't resist just looking at something new or different. The interesting thing, one of the interesting thing about these cards is in the tuck box, you'll notice there is no hole to put your finger. So it's very difficult to get these cards out. Plus the box seems custom fit for the deck, and so it's a very tight fit, and getting all the cards out at once takes some doing, but eventually that's okay. They come in red and blue. I got a red and a blue. I'll be looking at the blue deck. They are called Eagleback, and you can see the eagle on the cards. They're okay backs. This is a very stout deck of cards. Again, they have a very plasticky feel. It says Eagleback, and note this, quantum grain finish. I have never noticed a deck of cards or seen a deck of cards where you can look at the cards front and back and really be able to see the grain of thousands of small indentions. It's very interesting. The cards fan very, very tightly, but they don't clump. So they fan, but very, very tightly. Perhaps after working them in, they'll be a little bit better. They dribble very well. Double lifts, again, are nice because the cards stick together. They stick together well. They don't slide, which on many decks, such as bicycle decks, you need to get a little finger oils on them before they'll stop sliding. They are okay. It's not a bad deck. I'll have to play with it a little bit more, but they were fairly expensive, though. Being imported and not too well known, but I decided to take a chance, and they're not bad. They're sturdy. The design, the borders are even, something you might not always expect in budget cards, and of course these are not budget as far as the price was, but all the white borders are very even. Alright, and now I'd like to talk about the Shadow Masters, and start off with a story. A couple of years ago, I went to a store and purchased a first edition, or limited edition, the white bicycle decks that were, I can't remember what they were called, limited edition bikes. They were white. The second limited editions were blue, and I really was looking forward to them. I thought they looked great, but when I got them out of the box, they were extremely flimsy, and I really wondered about that. And so it was something that was in the back of my mind, and then I started hearing about Erlanger, Kentucky, and Cincinnati, Ohio, and somehow got the impression that the United States Playing Card Company had two separate manufacturing plants, one in Erlanger, one in Cincinnati. Apparently that is not true. They have moved completely to Kentucky, where all of my relatives came from. But I got the impression that the flimsier cards came from Erlanger and the better cards came from Cincinnati. And apparently that's not quite true, but there have been some quality concerns that I've heard about on some of the web boards and bicycle cards, and I wanted to talk about those. I recently got this deck of Shadow Masters, and when I played with them, I thought, they just don't seem as stout or as thick as the standard red Masters editions that I had. So I went back and I made a comparison, and I found that the Shadow Masters that I recently purchased, and which say are from Erlanger, Kentucky, were 2 cards thinner than the standard red Masters edition that I had from Illusionist that I purchased a few years before. And I thought that was strange, and I naturally assumed, well, Erlanger, thinner cards. Again, that's been shown to be a little, it's not by the city. However, I did wonder, and I did some asking around, found some people who had Shadow Masters that were made in Cincinnati, Ohio. Were told that they were thicker than the ones made in Erlanger. I just got one today and compared, and sure enough, it's not a big difference, but the Shadow Master, from Cincinnati, when I got it out, opened it up, the cards do feel stouter. Not necessarily that much thicker, just firmer, more pop. And they are one card. The entire deck is one card thicker than the Erlanger Shadow Masters. So there is a difference in thickness, a slight difference in thickness, but there is a definite difference in the springiness or firmness of the cards. So I'm getting some more in. It'll be very interesting. I like the Shadow Masters. I enjoy the black decks. I don't necessarily, care to perform with them, but use them in specific situations where, a black deck, the performance is not just necessarily magical, but it is one to be designed for as much entertainment as magic. So, these are the, let's just briefly go over the decks we've discussed today. The Cupid backs on bicycle, the most beautiful, if I can get that, I'm not used to doing this, back on a card that I think I've ever seen. The linen finish cards, casino playing cards by Massa, M-A-S-S-A, very nice card. The Archduke Eagleback from India, which ended up being better than I thought they would be, but probably not a real choice, but interesting to have for the collector. And then the discussion of the 2 different editions of the Shadow Masters, not editions, but the older versus newer, and just discuss the firmness or stoutness of the cards made in Cincinnati as opposed to the slightly thinner, slightly flimsier cards, and I do mean slightly, but it is noticeable. I noticed it as soon as I got it out of the package and played with them, the ones from Erlanger. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Alicent, once again, thank you for inspiring me, and look forward to talking with you next time. Bye-bye.